Well, folks, Champions Cup semi-finals are in the bag. I'm on the floor for hopefully the penultimate time to talk about these two games briefly. Heading back to New Zealand tomorrow, arriving on Wednesday. So, yeah, 41-22, Leinster over Toulouse a couple of days ago. Pretty comfortable, and then the La Rochelle result over Exeter, kind of similar in terms of the scoreline and the fact that the game, to put it frankly, wasn't really that close. Yeah, neither of these games seem to be in kind of any much of a doubt. What I will say though is both crowds were fantastic. The Leinster crowd up against Toulouse was very loud from the outset. They got a couple of penalties early. Ramos kicked the 50-22. I mean, similar to the second game, the first try went to the visitors. Kiwi went over for a pretty nice one, but Leinster, I mean, as soon as Barassi got injured for the midfield for Toulouse, and then Ramos gets that yellow card for a deliberate knock-on, and like, boy, did Leinster punish any kind of weakness in terms of having 14 men on the field. I mean, Conan goes over for one, and then Conan goes over for a double with a wee little kind of dummy. So, yeah, 16 and 22 minutes. It's not much of a gap between tries, so it's a quick kind of, a quick double for Leinster. They did have to check a Jimmy O'Brien one not long later, but that one got chalked off. The final angle just showed him kind of losing the ball. But, I mean, yeah, they got one anyway through Sheehan when Toulouse kind of uncharacteristically just kind of let the ball go loosely in their own 22. So, I mean, by half-time, the game was looking, it was looking pretty... I mean, 27-14 is not like dead and buried, but it didn't look like Toulouse were going to come back, even though they had kind of scored one through Miafu kind of before half-time. As soon as Ngatai kicked that 50-22, it kind of sucked the momentum out of anything that Toulouse was building. So, I mean, half-time, penalties conceded as 6-2, which is a concern for the Toulouse guys. I mean, 6 penalties is not too bad in one half, but you're still 3 times more than your opponent. They've offloaded it 12 times to 1. But yeah, penalties considered in a yellow card has been pretty costly. And the second half, although the second half was a bit more tentative, with kind of a slower introduction to the scoring, it was still very much more of the same. I mean, Netty's weird moment where he defended a Josh van der Fleer clear up with his own head, kind of a head striking motion, was bizarre. That earned him a yellow card, which was, as I said, kind of certainly bizarre. But I mean, before that, Toulouse had kicked the penalty to make it a 10-point game, 27-17. So 27-17, yeah, man, it's still 2 scores, but at least it's a game. And then that yellow card, bam, bam, Leinster with a Josh van der Fleer try from a maul. And then another one when Jenkins is able to go over after a big Conan carry on 63 minutes. So 41-17. She's looking pretty comfortable. Willis gets the consolation for Toulouse, but ultimately, man, Toulouse's discipline and the formation change probably didn't help them. And Leinster were absolutely relentless when they had a man up. Scored 4 tries, all during yellow cards. So, what can you say? Leinster forwards were physical. They dominated the contact. Toulouse conceded more penalties, 9-5. They conceded 2 yellow cards to none. The run meters was pretty close, 345 or so each, but Leinster did it with way fewer carries, which just kind of highlights what the forwards were up to, man. So Sheehan 73 meters, Conan and Ryan 17 odd tackles. I mean, Dupont gets 60 meters, but you would have rathered him at 9. As soon as he had to shift out, it didn't really kind of work for them. Flamand and Willis had kind of 10 tackles apiece, but yeah, man, what can I say? Leinster were pretty bloody good. So were La Rochelle. La Rochelle 47-28 winners over Exeter. They'll maybe be a little bit disappointed how many points they let Exeter kind of claim back, because this one was even looking like more of a hiding, but like I mentioned, it finishes with a very, very similar scoreline. They might have scored more points, but they also ended up conceding more as well. But Leinster, motorbike going on in the background. La Rochelle held all the Exeter pressure early, which is really similar to what they did in their previous Champions League. Was it against Saracens? They just held them out for ages, to the point where they got a yellow card warning, and then Sam Simmons went over. So their visitors get the first points, which is fantastic. Maybe this is going to be a game. No, like 2 minutes later, Raymond Rule hits pretty much straight back, kicked through with some silky skills. And at that point, the crowd was about as loud as the Leinster crowd. Like, I feel like the Leinster crowd maybe at the start of the game was a little bit louder, but the La Rochelle crowd was quietened down slightly by the fact that Simmons scored first. But man, the crowd just went ballistic. And kind of like Toulouse, they lost a key man in Botia early. He got a HIA, did not come back, but they still managed to look pretty slick. Did old La Rochelle. I mean, some of the hands were just silky, man. Those guys play with an absolute kind of confidence and skill set, which is pretty rarely seen. Aldridge's soft hands for the Saltini try, pretty nice. Skelton had a little bit of a TMO look at one of his cleanouts, but he escaped with just a penalty. Johnny Gray took a pretty bad knee injury, which looks concerning. I'm not sure if there's an update for him, but heading into a World Cup, not good. And then for Exeter, worse when Frost got a yellow card. And then, yeah, the La Rochelle just scrum, man. Scrum took over. The scrum was beastly. I mean, Aldridge was able to pick and go off the back of a scrum. They had advantage anyway, 19 points to 7. Kurbalo got one at the end of the yellow card, so very similar to Leinster, able to punish during the yellow. The hands in the build-up to that one were legit just crazy. So 26-7 at half-time. Offloads is 10-2, so it's the offloading team who's ahead in this game, unlike the last one. But missed tackles, 18-5. Exeter have missed way too many tackles, and the amount of tackles they've made is pretty similar. So it's not like Exeter was making a lot more tackles, they were just missing more. Stoy's kicked to Rule, 33-7, goodness me. Bougarit gets one from the maul, 40 points to 7. It's getting embarrassing. But then La Rochelle take off some of their forwards. Antonio goes off, I think Bougarit goes off, Wardy I think goes off. And then Exeter come back into the game, but man, Yusuf Asok gets a consolation one, 40 points to 14. Sam Simmons had gone close for that one. Raymond Rule had put in a nice try saver, which is not what I think of when I think Raymond Rule, but he has improved that aspect of his game. Kurbalo got a second one just to put a bit of salt in the wound, but that was the last of the scoring for La Rochelle. The next scoring would all be Exeter. They got one through Woodburn and then one through Yandel in the kind of last 10 minutes. Made it look a little bit more respectable. What can I say? But ultimately, neither of these games, like I mentioned, was that close. And it is a repeat of last year's final. La Rochelle up against Leinster, although this time it's going to be in Ireland rather than in France. So we'll see if that makes much of a difference. I'll be honest, I was kind of hoping for slightly closer games. But what can you say? It's these two teams who are going to go at it again in the final. And it should be a bit of a cracker. Look forward to seeing you guys from New Zealand soon. As I said, I'll be off the floor and back into a nice comfy chair. But anyway, you guys let us know your thoughts on the semis. And yeah, I'll talk to you guys again soon. See you later.